Hello and welcome to Geared for Planning, a podcast brought to you by EquipWare. I am your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney, and today we're talking about the catalog. What's it all about? And I have the perfect guest to tell us all about that. Randall Bates is the Director of Catalog Management for EquipWare. Randall, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Before we get started, Randall, let's hear a little bit of a bio if we can. Just a brief professional look at maybe your time with EquipWare and other accolades you'd like to share with us today?
Yes, started with EquipWare last year. Actually, around this time last year, started with the catalog. We officially launched the catalog or the whole EquipWare database platform in August 15th, actually. But we worked behind the scenes, getting the base functionality of EquipWare up and going during that period of time before our launch. And at that time, I started, of course, with the catalog, and I was trying to get the catalog tidied up and ready to go, implementing different pieces of equipment, looking at pieces of equipment we already had in EquipWare and making sure it was current, and doing any maintenance on it that was needed. So that was kind of the spinoff of EquipWare. Now, my time prior to EquipWare, I was in the equipment planning arena. I was with a few different firms and did medical equipment planning. Probably, 15 plus years, maybe close to 20 at this point, if you want to count a few years in. So prior to that, I was in the clinical arena. I started out as a CT tech in some major hospitals around the city, one being a Trauma One hospital where I spent a lot of time in the ER doing CT on trauma patients. So did a little bit of that. I was in the PACS world when PACS started out fresh, where film was kind of going away, and that's when digital imaging was coming into play. I was a part of that little train that kind of left the station, and spent time doing that, several years doing that. So I had a lot of different, I would say, feet in different areas of the healthcare spectrum, but it was always mostly in the imaging arena of medical equipment planning and also clinical.
So clearly you are well equipped for this conversation that we're about to have today, Randall, a wealth of experience there and really great knowledge that you've gained to bring you to this conversation today that we're going to have about the catalog and what is it all about. So let's start off with some basics. What actually is the catalog? How does it work?
So the catalog is based on data. Okay, files and files of data. When I say files and files of data, some examples, we sort of library, let's say on a product, if it's a refrigerator. Okay, we'll use that as an example. Okay, we will go out and get the data, all the data information on that particular refrigerator. And when I say data, we get spec sheets, we get manuals, we get installation guides, we get brochures, we get Revit files, we get CAD files, we get every piece of data that's associated with that particular item. In this case, we were talking about a refrigerator. Now, we catalog that information on everything in our catalog. So I guess the next question is, how does a person use our catalog with that information being accessible to them? They use that information when they're planning a project. When I say they, being equipment planners or being the facility itself. So that information that we catalog or in our library is information that's pertinent to what I call the design team. The design team usually consists of architects, the MEP people, being a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing people, all the data, IT people that are involved, and some of the users in the facilities, like maybe the nursing staff, maybe the C-suite staff, and maybe some of the managers, and actually the users who actually use the products. So that information is accessible to them. Why is that important? Let's say if you're an architect and you're designing a space, right? You got to know exactly, and you kind of do that with your home. Okay. You want to know exactly how big this piece of product is, how much it weighs, if it's going to cause any problems with any flooring issues that you may have. So you need to know that up front. Does it hook to any type of plumbing? Does it hook to any type of electrical outlet? Okay. If it does, it's plug into electrical outlet. What type of amps is that electrical outlet putting off, or how many amps is that product putting out? So it will overload the circuitry in that room, because you have to plan a room with not only that piece of equipment, but maybe several pieces of equipment. So, so the load or the electrical amperage that product puts off is important, and how does it play with all the other pieces of equipment in the room? So I know I said a lot there, but that's why we catalog all that information in our database, and that's why our clients who sign up with our subscription-based platform, that's how they use it, and that's what they use it for.
So clearly, we're hearing about the benefits of the catalog, but who is your target audience here? Tell me about the solutions it's providing for the users.
Our target audience is our clients who are doing equipment planning. As I emphasized earlier, equipment planners. There's many, many different equipment planning firms across the whole entire world. And their job is to step in and kind of be that leader in planning out the projects in these different facilities, whether it's a whole new greenfield project, meaning that it's a brand new facility coming right out of the ground, or if it's an addition to an existing area in the hospital. Like, let's say if the just the patient surgical patient area of a hospital is extending out their surgical patient rooms, okay, they would hire an equipment planner or hire somebody within the facility. Sometimes would be tasked to plan out what goes in those extra rooms that's being planned, or what goes in the whole entire hospital that's being planned. I mean, from the trash cans all the way up to, let's say, an MRI unit that's going into an MRI suite. So everything is planned, and all that information is housed inside our database.
Let's talk about how the end user is using the catalog in actuality. I mean, you're talking about a lot of different things, a lot of things that it can entail with different things that are going on with the planning. But can you kind of walk us through exactly how that would be used?
The planner or the user of our database, they would come in. They would get all the information about the project. Those are happening kind of behind the scenes before they even dig into our database. Okay, the architects kind of give a blank sheet and start drawing in all the rooms and all the spaces within the facility that's being planned or extensions being planned. And so instead of the user or the equipment planner writing out all this information on, let's say, spreadsheets on what's going in this space, what's going in this room, what's going on this floor, it makes it easy because you can set up different divisions, different departments, different spaces, different rooms, corridors, alcoves. You can set all those spaces up within our database, and then you can plug in all the equipment within those spaces. And those spaces can be expanded out through the entire project without having to list all that stuff on spreadsheets. It kind of gives you a graphic, gives you just, visual of what's in those spaces, what those rooms look like, room numbers, everything. And it actually is more efficient and it's quicker because, I'm sure you've worked with spreadsheets before. It's just a list of information, a list of rows of information, and it can just be kind of overwhelming. And this kind of gives you a snapshot of each space, what it looks like, what's in it, and so on.
So when it comes to what information can be found in EquipWare's catalog, how does that kind of set EquipWare apart from others who may be offering similar services?
There are a few companies that offer similar services, and what we try to set ourselves kind of apart, or at least a step ahead, if not a couple steps ahead. We try to offer easeability, user friendly software. Less clicks, clicks that make sense. Things that it's not like taking a Spanish class first day. You look at it and you don't understand what's going on. We try to make it simple, and having the knowledge and having the background of myself and my fellow colleagues that have been in this arena before, we know what it looks like, and we know those walls that we run into before in the past, and wish it would do this, and wish this was a little bit easier, and wish that this made a little bit more sense. We kind of incorporated all of that, all those can do's, would do's, and could haves. We kind of incorporate all of those into our database, and we made it easy, made it accessible, made it, like I said before, user friendly. And being able to bring in the equipment on my team, laying out everything there. I know it was a lot of stuff that I told you that we put in there for as a product, but you have the flexibility where you can use some of that information, or you can use it all. We didn't want to leave out anything that a manufacturer or vendor would offer on their product. We want to make sure that they're heavily represented in everything and anything that they put out there. And some of the other firms, they do a lot of that as well. Some of them don't go to the extent that I do or we do, putting in as much extensive information as we do. What, to answer your question, kind of puts us a little bit aside from our competitors, that we offer more.
Yeah, you're really covering, A to Z, as you said. You can choose to use all the information. You may not need to use all that information, but at least it's there. And I loved what you said. I just have to repeat that about fewer clicks and clicks that make sense, because there are a lot of clicks that could be made, but are they necessary? And I think that was a perfect way to word that. So if people are out there and they're saying, you know what, I want to know more, what's the best way that they can reach out to you for more information about the catalog?
Well, you can go on our site, www.EquipWare.com, and you can request a demo. I completely and wholeheartedly encourage that. I know that everybody offers a demo and everybody wants to show their product, but I think it would be worth your time just to take a look at us. We're not asking anything other than take a look at us and compare us to what you're presently doing now, and see if it makes sense. See if it brings a little bit of ease to your life every day. Because doing equipment planning it's not easy. Not easy when you're planning an entire hospital and you planning out equipment that sometimes you never even heard of in your life. And you're sitting in these meetings and all of the users are talking about all these different types of equipment, and some of the stuff is just kind of circling your head. But that's what they want. You can come to our database and look for it, and chances are it's there for you to put in your project. And you really don't have to do anything but click and it's in. And if it's not, then we have on our database where you can request a product that we may not have. There's millions of things out there, and I wish I had millions of SKUs in the database, but at some point we will. But the key is, if it's out there and you want it, we're going to have it, or we're going to put it in there.
Clearly, attention to detail is first and foremost. Just look at how you're dressed, Randall. I mean, as you can see, Randall's presenting himself here with the hat, so Randall means business. So when he says that it would be worth your time to look them up and ask for a demo, you obviously are very passionate about what we're talking about here today. And the main goal is to help make it easier for people who are in those positions so that everything flows better. So it's better for everybody. So EquipWare.com, of course, you can go to get more information. Randall Bates is the Director of Catalog Management. Thank you, Randall, for your time and a great conversation talking about the catalog. What's it all about? Clearly, a lot of information in that catalog, as you said, maybe more information than you even need, but better to have too much information than missing some important information. So, Randall, thank you so much for being here today.
Sure, Michelle. My pleasure again. It was a pleasure meeting you. Love the conversation. I want to say, if anybody out there have any questions that want to direct those personally to me, you can email me, of course, and be able to go into a little bit more detail. So that's all I want to say about that.
Perfect. And R. Bates at EquipWare.com, is that correct?
That's it.
Okay. Randall Bates, Director of Catalog Management. Once again, my special guest talking about the catalog and what it is all about. And I want to thank you once again for being with me, Randall. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in today to Geared for Planning. It is a podcast brought to you by EquipWare, EquipWare.com. Once again, if you'd like to visit and find out more information about today's conversation. I'm your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney. Thanks again for joining us. We hope to see you soon.